Don't mess with an honest man, else, he'll quickly teach you a lesson. This is one of 2021's most thrilling action films. It starts when his daughter loses a bracelet. This honest man alone begins to wipe out the entire gang. And that's not all. He also burns their hundreds of millions in deposits, reducing it all to ashes. But even such a ruthless man, just days ago, he was despised by his wife and underestimated by his children. His name is Jason Statham. Middle-aged, unhappy marriage, constantly facing crises, working 9 to 5 daily, living a dull, routine life. Rises before dawn, sleeps late every night, a typical good family man. Until that night, 2 armed robbers break into his home, shattering his peaceful life. Jason stays surprisingly calm. He grabs a nearby bat, then calls the police. But before the call connects, the robbers notice him. Their intent is clear. They want money. Jason complies. He tells them all cash is in the plate. Robbers get frustrated. They take the change and his watch. At that moment, he notices their wrist tattoos. At that time, his son suddenly charges out, knocking one robber to the ground. Jason lifts the bat to retaliate. Victory is near, but he hesitates at the last moment. His son's name is Robert. He watches a robber punch his son. Then they escape. His son is furious. Believes his father lacks courage. Sees him as weak. Wife sees him fail to protect his family. Also disappointed in Jason, even arriving police mock him. Jason feels like the 4th emoji on your phone. Good news stays in. Bad news spreads fast. Jason family's plight spreads through streets and alleys. Neighbors and colleagues mock him. They see Jason as a loser. Even his brother-in-law teases him. They join in, handing him a gun, telling him to protect his family, but he endured it all. Didn't break down. Until today, his youngest daughter said, her favorite cat bracelet is missing. It was kept in the money tray the robbers took. The money tray seems minor, but ignited Jason's fury. I can act, but not if my family is harmed. Without a word, he left home. He went to his father's nursing home, took his father's documents, looked closely. They say FBI are on it. Then grabbed cash and a revolver. Loaded bullets at his waist. Told his father he had business to attend to. Father sipped coffee, understanding. Looking back, you'll see, this father is not an ordinary grandfather dancing in the square. He's also a ruthless man. Noticed the robber's unique tattoos. He visited many tattoo shops to trace clues. The owner wasn't friendly. He slammed the table, surrounding Jason. Jason saw this, pulled out cash, prepared to face the man with the hat, but saw the tattoo on Jason's wrist. Without a word, he turned and left. Locked himself out. The boss immediately understood. Using the tattoo shop's info, Jason arrived at a rundown apartment. The robbers were a young couple. They were about to dine. Jason suddenly appeared, threw a punch, raised his gun, demanding the watch and his daughter's cat bracelet. The woman returned the watch willingly, but they knew nothing about the bracelet. Jason knocked him down, almost shot, but heard a noise inside. He went back to search. Saw a crying baby, wearing an oxygen mask. He understood everything. This young couple were driven to desperation. Jason let them go again. Frustrated, he rushed out, ventured against the wall in anger. His anger had nowhere to vent. Nearly smashed his hand. Jason boarded a bus home. But something unpleasant happened. You wouldn't believe it. Pushing an honest man too far. A gray Hummer sped up behind. Crashed into a concrete pillar. Blocked the bus's path. A group of drunk thugs got off and boarded the bus. They began harassing passengers. Jason was seething with anger. Nowhere to vent. Perfect timing. Thinking if they'd arrived earlier, he wouldn't have needed to bash the wall. Jason couldn't contain his joy. Seeing the girls' pleading eyes, he smiled and moved to the front. Grabbed the driver's phone as he called the police. Signaled them to get off. Slowly closed the door. Satisfied, he faced the thugs. Jason pulled out his gun and fired. I'm gonna fuck you up. The thugs looked disdainful. They laughed loudly. Little did they know, they had already stepped into their graves. Jason took a heavy punch. But the pain revived his senses. 1 against 5. Strikes were swift and ruthless. Each move was clean and decisive. Even when stabbed, he didn't back down. He was like a different person. After several rounds, Jason was thrown from the vehicle. The thugs were left battered. They screamed, thinking it was over. Jason got up again, then re-entered the bus for another round. The thugs were terrified. He saw them cut their seatbelts. This time, he was serious, determined to take them down today. The bus became a slaughterhouse. A young man seized a gun, loaded bullets to retaliate. Jason broke his own hands, calmly disarmed the gun. 2 hits sent them away. Fight finally ended, then pulled out a straw, started first aid on the young man. He clearly didn't want fatalities, but he never expected. This thug wasn't an ordinary punk, but the younger brother of a local gang leader. Back home, his wife saw Jason wounded. She was very surprised, quickly treated his injuries. Meanwhile, those thugs suffered greatly. All were seriously injured and hospitalized. Seeing his brother in the hospital, the gang leader was furious. Swore to avenge his brother, using Jason's bus card. He had his men investigate Jason, but found Jason unremarkable, a small man with no presence. The gang leader refused to believe it. He wouldn't accept this reality. Then he used the Pentagon's network, entered the name into the DoD's police system. Access was denied by the system. After several hurdles, he found Jason's records in a secret archive. Opening them, he saw it was listed as anonymous. Most content was blacked out. Some sections had photos of death scenes from covert ops, various secret missions, photos of death scenes. The boss's men were stunned, realizing their mistake. They had tangled with the wrong people. They threw the documents on the ground. Without taking the money, they quickly decided to leave, but the gang leader wasn't to be underestimated. Seeing the photos on the ground, he immediately issued an order. Meanwhile, Jason acted normal at home. He received a call from a friend, informing him the thugs were backed by a top force. Through connections, Jason learned the gang leader had vast connections and was an antisocial element. With power and influence, he oversaw Russian gangs and managed the group's funds. However, Jason focused on one thing. That night, Jason prepared a lavish dinner for his family. Unexpectedly, several mysterious vehicles appeared. The gang leader sent men to the door. Things started to go south. Jason had his family hide in the basement and instructed his wife, when an honest man is pushed too far, he first turns off all the house's power, leaving the house in darkness, then prepares for battle. When enemies break in, Jason uses his home advantage and begins to fight back. House items became weapons, like baseball bats, sharp fruit knives, ordinary plates, and a freshly boiled kettle. Each item was used effectively, but his fists couldn't handle 4 opponents. Under their assault, he was accidentally ambushed. He fainted on the spot. When he woke up, he found himself locked in the trunk, with his hands tightly cuffed. Jason broke his fingers, escaping the handcuffs. He took out a fire extinguisher and opened the safety plug, sprayed directly at the enemies. The vehicle lost control, crashing into a roadside pole, then did a 1.5 spin flip onto the ground. Jason climbed out and unlocked the cuffs. A nearby underling was curious about his identity. To make them understand, Jason revealed his past. It turned out, Jason was once an investigator for intelligence units. An investigator, making him unwanted by criminal organizations. Without arrest authority, he had to kill everyone during operations. Later, yearning for a normal, happy family life, he chose to retire from the force, started marrying and having children, leaving behind the Phi Robert. He called his father, telling him his mission was upgraded, then stumbled back home. From the basement, he called out to his family, telling them to drive away quickly. To protect his family from being hunted, he decided to stay alone to eliminate the threat. Then, Jason gave up music, took out all the gold bars, had a drink and burned down the house, destroyed all evidence. He no longer waited to die, chose to take action, preparing for the final showdown. But the gang leader's men found Jason. They went to Jason's father in the nursing home. 2 armed thugs broke into the room, pointing Robert their guns at the sleeping father. The next second, the father tightly gripped the gun, jamming the safety. Then, a crooked head strike followed by another shot. The duty nurse heard the gunshots and hurried over. "Come on, baby, just turn that down." Jason arrived at a facility, used gold bars to set up the factory, designed traps based on the layout, sawed through rebar, inserted into gun barrels, smoothed bullets, connected to mousetraps, created unique weapons with screws and gunpowder, drilled stair holes to bury grenades. Everything was set. Jason stormed the gang's hideout alone. Unaware, the gang leader was singing on stage. Jason, with a machine gun, began charabert with his gunfire. He killed all guards and ignited gasoline, turned gasoline into fire hoses, sprayed billions in cash with hoses. Jason calmly lit a cigarette. The cash instantly ignited. As the song ended, Jason calmly ate beef. The angry gang leader left the stage. His men aimed their guns at him. Jason threatened with a bomb, demanding a private talk. Realizing his power was destroyed, the gang leader lost composure. He realized his plans were ruined. The gang leader furiously ordered his men to pursue Jason. He had a violent temper, led his men with assault rifles, firing relentlessly. Despite the car's damage, he drove enemies into a trap, lured them into his warehouse. As Jason exited, he was shot in the shoulder. Things looked grim. At that moment, a window above shattered. Jason's old buddy appeared with a sniper rifle. He was precise and deadly. Then, Jason's father wielded a shotgun, matching the younger generation's ferocity. The family was ruthless. They entered the factory. Jason activated the hydraulic system to detonate grenades. The area exploded instantly. His old buddy was swift and efficient, able to shoot accurately. Jason's traps activated. His old buddy was skilled, capable of long and close combat. He executed 3 headshots in a row. Jason's traps fully activated. His men were eliminated. Under his heroic aura, 3 men with stories gathered, continuing their shootout until his old buddy was hit. All bullets were spent. Only the gang leader remained. He confronted them with an assault rifle, but Jason didn't wait. He pulled out a bomb from his coat, taped it to Chinese glass, and charged at the gang leader. A fierce gunfight erupted and ended. The 3 men smiled, fist bumping for the next encounter. Then, 2 left first. Jason called his wife to report he was safe, then rescued a kitten from a pipe, and grabbed 2 cans of cat food. He prepared to surrender to the police. In the interrogation room, 2 young men questioned Jason about his identity. At that moment, 2 officers received a mysterious call. Their expressions grew serious. After this incident, their marriage returned to normal. The family reviewed their new home. After the call, he had one simple request for the house. This story teaches us never to mess with an honest man, or he'll quickly teach you a lesson. The movie is over. Thank you for watching my movie summary. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more great movie summaries. Goodbye, and see you next time. Movie.